Today, if they build it, you will go. Some of the Midwest's best off-road truck builders compete in a 5-stage shootout, all to see who's crowned top shot. Plus, Dana, Corporate, Ford, and Rockwell. It's Axles 101 right now on Xtreme 4x4.
Hey guys, welcome to Xtreme 4x4, and today we have a show that I know all of you are going to love because it's a topic that all of us hardcore off-roaders need to know about, and that is axles.
And we've built a lot of vehicles on this show, and there's one thing that all 4x4s have in common: axles, 2 of them, and preferably 2 strong ones that can handle the abuse. Now, how much abuse you put your truck through all depends upon what you're going to do with your truck.
Now you guys probably remember our 85 Jeep CJ7 that we affectionately called the Cheap Jeep. It started with a spring over axle conversion, some bead locks, and a complete set of boggers.
And then we swapped out the manual transmission for an automatic transmission and rebuilt the transfer case with a 4-to-1 gear set, all the while knowing that our days were limited with those axles.
Now the first axle we're going to look at today can be found underneath the back end of almost all Jeeps since 1976. It's called an AMC-20, and it's easily identified by the perfectly round diff cover that's usually bolted on with Torx head bolts straight from the factory. Now this axle has some inherent strengths as well as some weak points. The strengths are the fact that it has an 8 3/4 inch ring gear as well as 29 spline axles, so it's pretty strong. The weak points are out here on the tubes themselves. They're rather small as well as very thin walled. And the shafts themselves come from the factory as 2-piece units with an outer flange where the wheel bolts on, and that is usually the failure point. So in a stock Jeep, the AMC-20 usually does pretty good. But when you start to modify your truck for serious off-road duty, that axle becomes your weak link, and you've got to get it out.
Under the front of this Jeep, 75 and newer CJs, and a handful of other makes and models, you'll find the Dana 30. Now this axle comes with a 7.2-inch ring gear and is available with standard rotation or low pinion and reverse rotation or a high pinion option. Now the most common spline count is 27 on both the shafts and the stub shafts, which makes it a weak link, right along with the most broken part, the U-joints. Now overall, this Dana 30 is not that bad of an axle, as long as you're driving it with a fairly stock Jeep, no more than 33-inch tires, and you're not that heavy on the throttle pedal.
Now the next axle we're going to take a look at is a little bit stronger, and it's the Dana 44. And you can find this axle under almost any 4-wheel drive truck built in North America, both front and rear. Now since the mid-1970s, they've had 30 spline inner shaft and 19 spline outers, and they've always had an 8.5-inch ring gear for good strength. And they're easily recognizable by the Dana-shaped cover, and they can be found in most junkyards, and off-road guys love them. They love them because it's easily converted to high steer. The driver's side knuckle is already drilled and tapped with these studs, and you can simply machine the passenger side knuckle to match and have an easy high steer kit. Now when you're hunting around the junkyards, don't get excited when you see 8 lugs and think you found a Dana 60. 44s had them too. The best thing to do is to look right at the housing, and you'll see the 44 cast right into the back. Now this will be a great axle underneath the front of our Jeep. And Ford took the Dana 44 a little bit further. They went ahead and just used the center section in what they called a twin traction beam. It was their first shot at IFS. It was basically a 44 housing with these little stub shafts running out to the axles, and the whole unit would move on leaf springs. Now, although the hardcore off-roader doesn't really use this very often, I have seen these in a couple tough trucks where the guys had an independent front suspension, and that way they could have the strength of a solid axle.
You axle gurus know that there's other Dana models that we're not talking about. But today we're concentrating on the most popular and the ones that are easily confused, like our rear axle on our bottom drawer buggy. It was originally ordered for the Poison Spider as a Dana 60, but as soon as we opened the diff, we found out that it was a Dana 50. Now these axles are most commonly used on the front of the newer F-250s, and we can speak for hours trying to figure out why Ford took the beefy Dana 60 housing and installed a Dana 44 carrier ring and pinion. But whatever the reason is, you're going to want to stray away from this axle for serious off-road use. You might look at it and say those beefy knuckles and those large joints make that axle strong, but in all actuality, the axle tapers down right when it goes into the carrier, making it the weak link. And you can go ahead and try and upgrade those axles, but in turn, you're just going to be making your gear set the weak link.
Now, the axle in the Dana family that us hardcore off-roaders will pretty much consider top of the food chain will be the Dana 60, like the one on the back of the Poison Spider. Although Dana did build the larger and stronger Dana 70 that you'll find in diesel-powered pickup trucks or dual rear-wheel trucks. The downfall is this thing is stronger because of the size of the ring gear. It's 10 3/4 inches big. Now, the housing has to be a lot larger to keep that ring gear, and it has extra bracing on the bottom. Now, guys are finding that the ground clearance they're giving up to run the 70 is not worth the small extra strength they're getting. Now, the Dana 60 is easy to identify, just like all the other ones, because of the shape of the cover. It comes with a 9 3/4 inch ring gear and ships stock with either 30 or 35 spline axles. Now, there is an ID stamping into one of the axle tubes, and you can usually decode that through a bunch of different decoders on the internet, and it's a good idea to do that because, believe it or not, some of the 60s actually shipped with Detroit lockers and 35 spline axles from the factory. Now, the Dana 60 is a full floating axle, which means that we can remove the axle itself without removing the tire and the wheel. It's great on the trail because if you break an axle, simply remove the perimeter bolts, pull it out, and you can slide on a spare and continue with your day. Now, the front Dana 60, just like the Model 30 and 44, did come as either a low or a high pinion. And as you guys have figured out by now, you want that high pinion when you're off-road. They're easy to spot in a junkyard because they're the only Dana that measures a true 4 inches across the outer stub shaft cover. So to summarize, with axle tubes 3.125 inches around and 1/2 inch thick, huge support in the aftermarket with lockers, covers, and knuckles, not to mention gear ratios available from 354 to 717, the Dana 60 axles are great to abuse off-road.
Talk about abuse, these guys break them and rebuild them on a daily basis. Find out which team is crowned top shop. Stay tuned.
So who builds the toughest rigs? Who's the fastest, most skilled driver? Well, you gotta admit that most of us go four-wheeling just for fun, but we wanna be the best at whatever it is we do.
And when we heard that the Rockport Off-Road Park put together a course to challenge all the region shops, well, we had to check it out for ourselves.
5 off-road shops representing Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri came to Hannibal Rocks, all for the right to be crowned the top shop.
Well, this is the toughest event in the Midwest.
Over 2 days, the teams competed in 5 treacherous events.
They put us through some of the hardest courses, lots of carnage, lots of rocks, everything you can expect. It's a real tough event.
They had to endure the brutality of the mud bog, a truck pull, the nasty metal crunching technical trail, a gun it and go time run,
And the final event of the competition, a black diamond rock crawl.
This is really a hardcore event.
At the end of the second day, the team with the highest score would be crowned champion.
Oh, I'd love to be called the top shop. It's just something to brag about.
First up,
I like mud.
the truck that went the furthest through a foot of mud would win the weekend's dirtiest event.
Yeah, to get through the mud bog, you need lots of speed and horsepower. That's about all it takes.
Toombs Repair was the defending top shop champs, and Brad Beamer wasn't going to let his team down.
I got a lot of confidence. Should be good.
Brad moved to the head of the pack when he nailed a distance of 135.2 feet.
All you had to do is keep it to the floor and let the Jeep do the work.
Stan the Man Haynes heads Team Brannick. He knows anything short of victory is failure.
The pressure is pretty intense. Got to perform. That's what I intend to do.
Stan's second place finish made his team proud.
That's perfect. He sets the bar for the entire event. We couldn't have asked for anything more of him. He did great.
Bevel Repair, The Shop, and Axle Boy Racing rounded out the top 5.
From the mud to the rocks for the technical trail.
From 1 to 5, this is a 5 compared to what we've been on to in the past.
It's called a technical
run. And I mean, that's what it is. It's technical. You got to think about it. You got to place rocks. You got to make the right move.
After finishing last in the mud, Team Axle Boy needed to make up some points.
Looks pretty tough, and we haven't tested the Jeep out, so we'll see what it does.
Scott Carline didn't do much, and Axle Boy ended up with another 5th place finish.
When it comes to rocks, pro crawler Chris Endries was the shop's secret weapon.
The technical trail, I got a twin stick transfer case so I can front dig, which really helps me maneuver around on the course.
That's exactly what Chris did, easily taking the win ahead of Toombs Repair and Brannon.
The day's final event wasn't for sissies.
This stage is a time trial. Get through it as the fastest time possible. Floor it, skinny pedal, and nail it.
Toombs Repair put all 3 rigs in the event as Brad Beamer's 37-second run put them on top of the leaderboard. Not to be outdone was Axle Boy's Rodney Werdehausen.
He's coming around the corner. Come on, Rodney. Cheer him on, folks. Give him some encouragement. Come on, Rodney.
Showing no fear, he matched the fastest time.
That was awesome, man. I can't believe we tied for first place on our time trial. That was just awesome, though.
Axle Boy also ran 3 trucks, and Rodney's teammates gave the squad the tiebreaker victory. With 1 win and 2 second-place finishes, Toombs led the event after day 1. Holy cow, I gotta tell you, that is one heck of a day 1.
Now make sure you stick around because coming up next is day 2 of the Top Shop Challenge. It includes the truck pull, the rock crawl, and of course, you get to find out who the winner is. We're back on Xtreme where we're headed back to Rockport, Illinois for day 2 of their Top Shop Challenge.
Throughout the night, all the teams worked feverishly on their trucks to be ready for day 2.
We'll work all night, all day, whatever it takes to get the trucks to get on the trail again. It doesn't matter. We're all in it for the same reason.
With only the pull and the rock crawl remaining, last place Bevel Repair were already out of the title hunt.
Oh, it ain't disappointing. We come out here and play with them. It's all fun.
Starting off day 2 was the truck pull.
We've got a 14,000-pound mechanical sled normally used for mini rod tractors. What this does is test the strength and the durability of these rigs, their ability to recover another rig off of a trail or something without breakage.
Leading the shop by just 9 points, John Toombs wasn't going to crack under the pressure.
I feel real good. We got our repairs done last night. We got a good breakfast this morning, and we're full of energy.
There goes John. Cheer him on. He's pouring it on.
Credit the Wheaties as Toombs hammered out an amazing 191-foot pull.
Toombs all the way, baby.
Ben Melnick kept the shop's title hopes alive with his 183-foot pull.
Couldn't feel any better. I love it. This is what it's all about right here.
Heading into the final event, the title would come down to 2 heavyweights, Toombs Repair and the shop.
This is the rock crawl. This is the last stage. This is it. This is the meat and potatoes, man. This is what's going to separate them all. The whole weekend comes down to this crawl.
Go passenger and keep bringing it. Toombs would have 1 rig entered in the event, while the shop would send in 3.
They could drop the lowest score. They could take it all just because of the way they played the strategy.
First up for the shop was Ben Melnick. He left on the hook.
I wanted to finish that course more than anything.
The shop's Mike Jones was next.
It is nerve-wracking.
Using standard rock crawling rules, he cleared the course with a score of 2.
Had a hard time driving this. There's a lot of foot pedals and steering going on.
For the team, it all came down to pro crawler Chris Endries.
Yeah, I really need to ace this course. I need to give us a negative score so we are in first place and really put a bunch of pressure on the other team.
A hit gate and a couple of backups gave him a score of 1. To win the top shop for Toombs, all Alan Grady needed was a 10 or better.
Get a really good score and Toombs is going to come out first place. Second's just a gear.
It wasn't pretty, but his score of 10 gave Toombs a slim margin of victory.
So we did a good job all weekend. Our whole team pulled together.
Now, obviously, we want to say congratulations to all the guys at Toombs Repair for a job well done. And so far today, we've shown you all the popular axles that are available from the Dana Corporation. But there are other axles out there, and that's where we're going to go now. We're going to start with the corporate 14 bolt. Now, this rear axle comes in two types. There's a full floating and a semi-floating, and it's a very strong axle with a 10.5-inch ring gear and 30 spline shafts at the carrier. Now, it's easy to identify because the cover has exactly 14 bolts in it, and like the Dana, it did come with a Detroit locker right from the factory. Now, you can find the full floater in the junkyard pretty easy. All you got to do is crawl underneath and look for this removable pinion support. If you can, pull the hubcaps off the truck, and you should also find the bolts holding the axle shaft itself. You always want that full floater, not the C-clip version. And the reason why is on a semi-floating axle, the vehicle's weight is actually supported by the axle shaft. And when they make these shafts, the shafts have to be able to bend under that vehicle's weight. Whereas on a full floater, the vehicle's weight is just supported by the tire and wheel and the housing. It doesn't have to bend. It can be made stronger. Now, you do give up some ground clearance with a 14 bolt, but you can very easily cut the bottom off this housing and rebuild it and get that ground clearance back. And that is termed as shaving your axle.
Up next, the granddaddy of them all, Rockwells, when Xtreme 4x4 continues.
Welcome back to Axle Talk on Xtreme 4x4. Probably the easiest axle to identify is always going to be the Ford 9-inch. With its removable third member that houses the ring and pinion, this axle is most commonly found under 3/4-ton Ford trucks and vans. And with its 28 and 30 spline axle shafts that are held in place with bearing supports right at the flange, this axle is not a full floater axle, but it does have benefits over the standard C-clip axle. Because if that shaft breaks, it's actually not going to fall out of the housing because it's sandwiched in right here at the flange. Now, with the removable carrier and its inherent strength of the 9-inch ring gear, which is where the axle gets its name, this is a very common axle for racers because you can go ahead and have a bunch of different center sections that are already set up with different gear ratios, lockers, and then you can go ahead and swap them out on the fly, all depending upon track conditions.
Now, you didn't think we're going to have an axle show and not talk about the ultimate and original equipment steering axle, the 2.5-ton top-loading Rockwell. Now, these are most commonly found underneath the front end of old military trucks. And the only way to describe these things is big, beefy, and borderline indestructible. And we're not going to go into them too deep now. I'll just tell you that they got a 6.72-to-1 gear ratio to make them great for off-road. But we're going to be rebuilding these later on in the season and slipping them underneath one of our projects. Now, what project is that going to be?
You guessed it! The bottom drawer buggy is getting an axle upgrade.
Plus, the Cheap Cheek will be back for a cut-down 44 as well as a cut-down 60, and they'll both be ready for the trail.
We'll see you next week. Thanks, Lou.